Good evening, everyone. Happy Labor Day. For those that got to enjoy it and didn't have to work today. So I know many out there had to work. I do hope everybody's enjoyed their Labor Day weekends, enjoyed their last. For many of us, it's going to be our last holiday till Thanksgiving. So we all know how that goes. Give me 1 second. I need to do something. All right, I'm back. I hope I am. But as you guys can see, it's titled We the People. It's titled that for a reason. And we're going to go into links of what we the people mean. One, I never cared for it when Trump said certain things about people. I don't like it when any president does or any politician does it. When they start sowing the seeds and discord of division. Because that's not what we the people represent. And I've been very clear about this throughout any podcast I've done, any video I've uploaded on this channel. You know, I've been one of the quickest ones to bash everybody when it comes to using labels that divide us. But what really has got my blood boiling, and it's got my blood boiling since last week, because it's been not even a week, where our so-called president has labeled people opposite of his party extremist. And there is no place for that to be tolerated within this country. To have a politician, a president, our representative, sowing seeds of discord and division that threatens our very form of freedom, that threatens our Constitution, that threatens what this country represents. Enough is enough. He wants to give campaign speeches and promote his fellow party. I get that. That's cool. But you don't do it by labeling your opposition party as extremist. You know, we tolerated it when they called us deplorables and other things that they've done. But we shouldn't have. We should have took a stand right then and there. Because we are Americans. First and foremost, we're all brothers and sisters. It does not matter who we vote for. You know, I don't know how many actually listen to him when he gives speeches. I don't normally do. But you know, I caught last week's, and then I caught today's, which I found was interesting. Needless say, because it was titled "President Biden delivers remarks regarding Labor Day." He didn't make no remarks about Labor Day. It was instant attack on Republicans and MAGA. Once again, calling them extremists. But I think it's funny. It makes me wonder if it was taped. Because when he addressed the crowd, it was good morning. Well, this is Pennsylvania, so my time zone. It's 6:30, 6:35 right now. It ended about 20 minutes ago, half hour ago-ish. Good morning. This is going towards the evening here on the East Coast. But I'm sure many of you have seen the pictures captured from the cell phone video of the guy that was recording somebody else recording it, and the whole background was staged under a blue or green screen, whichever one you prefer to use. Doesn't matter. It's chroma screening. You know, not once did he mention anything about Labor Day. It was just an instant attack. He went as far as comparing us to the Nazis of World War II and the Ku Klux Klan. Let's get our facts straight. History is an amazing thing. You know me. I love my history. The Democratic Party was the founders of the Ku Klux Klan, was the ones that had the Klan Bake march through D.C. That was Democrats. Do your research. It's all there, written out. Every paper of that time showed it. So if you're going to start calling people and labeling them things, at least know your history and your facts. But there's also plenty of history in his racist remarks that he's made in the past. There comes a point where enough's enough. There comes a point where we, the American people, fellow brothers and sisters, are going to have to say enough's enough. We don't need elected officials stirring on violence, trying to cause a race war, which they constantly do. We don't need politicians that put their party before we the people. That puts their party before Americans. They're supposed to be our representatives. Our voice. Not the fucking corporations that line their pockets. Not pharma. You know, he was talking about insulin. Well, let me give you something about insulin. Last week, my dad went to renew his pen. And he went to go pick it up. Biden says, the prices of insulin stuff is only now, you only pay $35. They tried to charge him $999 for something that he can't live without. Something that he can't afford. That's his whole Social Security check. Yep. When are we going to get tired of the lies? I've sat here and told you guys repeatedly, I'm never going to tell you who to vote for. But I am. And I do. Actions speak louder than words. When you go to vote, make sure you know who you're voting for. Make sure their actions speak louder than their lies and their half-truths. Make sure what they set up their campaign, say they're going to do, that they have done and proven by action that they have done. Quit voting these people that give you these half-lies. As soon as they get into office, say, screw you. No, it's supposed to be about we the people. It's supposed to be about us, the American citizens, bringing back jobs here to America. But no, we got states like California that's implemented all these green deals. We got people out there suffering in California and in Colorado because of taxation on the electric grids, and everybody's got the smart refrigerators, smart meters that are shutting their power off So they can't get AC. They can't. Their food's spoiling in their refrigerators when the temperatures are over 98 degrees. They're going through a heat wave. People can't charge their Tesla cars. Well, we've banned all. You're no longer. We're no longer allowed gas cars in here. You must own electric. But yeah, the infrastructure won't support the charging of your electric cars. You know, I don't like Elon Musk because to him, what I gotta say is, what about that promise you made to Flint, Michigan? Yep, which they're still waiting. But he did say something, and this is for the man that's invested his life into Tesla, making electric cars. We will never get away from the dependency of coal and oil, which is fact. Big climate change hoaxes. Well, it is a hoax. You can go on NOAA, pull up the map, and do your research. We're talking about events 10,000 years from now. That's why Obama went and bought prime real estate in a mansion right on where, well, if climate change was such an issue, it would be flooded. It was. But no, he bought it. Oh, no, because he knows the truth. We're talking about something that's going to happen 10,000 years from now. Not even our lifetimes, our kids' lifetime, or our next generations of kids' lifetimes. It's a bunch of crap. It truly is. And the worst part of it is, we see the talks about civil war. And I'm finally glad to start hearing some people calling it for what it's supposed to be. It's not going to be a civil war. It's going to be a revolutionary war. Because once we're pushed to that point, and I want you guys to understand this. This is why it's so important for them to keep pushing the civil war idea. Civil war is a division between states. It is a division between families. As we've learned throughout our own history. We're not focusing on the real cancer, the real issue, which is our government. We got an FBI that's out of control, a DOJ that's out of control. Instead of hiring more border agents, they wanted to hire 85,000 IRS agents and arm them. Guys need to wake up to what's going on. Because more than ever, right now, if we want to avoid the road that they're pushing us down, we have to wake up and we have to start using our voices. Part of our voices come standing up to these guys when they're doing their public rallies, standing up and calling them for their lies, calling them out. It's time that we put party lines and the idea of a party label out the back door. Because that's not what this country needs now. This country needs people that's going to uphold our Constitution, protect our rights and freedoms, bring jobs back to this country, make this country the beacon of hope that it is meant to be for the world. And it's not by putting politicians in like Biden. It's not by putting congressmen in like McConnell, Kennedy, Schumer, Pelosi, AOC. It's putting people into office that are everyday people like me and you, who knows what it is to have our voices stifled, who knows what it's like to work and bust our asses off for a living to barely get by, especially in this time of age. Oh, the economy is great. The economy is so great. Why did Amazon just shut down a bunch of warehouses and lay a bunch of people off? If the economy is so great, Why is factory still struggling to get people to work? The economy's so great. Why did insurance, Anthem and Blue Cross and Blue Shields, jack their premiums and rates for their health, for their insurance? If the economy's so great, how is it that the prices keep going up in the grocery store? And by the way, the prices of gas still has not went down. They're still not under $2. They're not where they were pre-COVID. But yet the lies continue. I'm the president. I can't get my can't tell the difference between evening and morning. I can't even read a teleprompter right. But I can sure as hell divide this country and make out my opposition party as extremist, MAGA extremist. You're not a president. You're a fascist dictator, wannabe puppet, because you can't dictate shit. Because you couldn't even spell the word dictator or dictate. You're just a puppet of the people in Congress that are pulling your strings. You won't even allow an investigation. And this is how bad the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is, because they should be demanding a full investigation into Hunter Biden's laptop. Because we might have a president that is compromised. You just issued sending more money to Ukraine last week. When we got people here who are starving, who are struggling to get by, who are having their electricity shut off because of smart meters, because the taxation of the grid. We can't have you run your air conditioners. We can't have you charging your electric cars. But yet, we want you to support our Green Deal. Enough's enough. You take that Green Deal and shove it so far up your fucking ass and recycle it. That's about how much it's worth when you shit it out. Actually, shit has more value because you can actually recycle it and fertilize shit. Because, war in Ukraine and the sanctions we put on Russia, well, who knew? No, I didn't know, but most 98% of our fertilizer comes from Russia. Who would have known that, right? Well, it's because we got away from using natural fertilizers. Because we started going more chemical fertilizers. Now, I've had enough in the past week of being called an extremist. And I'm not a MAGA supporter. I don't believe in labels. But I am an American. And I don't care what side of the party lines you call yourselves, or label yourselves, you're still my brothers and sisters. So when you attack one, you attack us all. But they don't want you to believe that. They want you to be divided. They want you to fighting in the streets with each other. It was okay to burn the streets in Portland. They're not labeling those guys extremists, domestic terrorists, and that's exactly what they were committing, was domestic terrorism. They were acting like a bunch of extremists, but we had Kamala Harris running GoFundMes and bringing in money to bail these people out, get them lawyers. Our very own vice president. It was okay for Maxine Waters to go out, basically tell people to go commit violence. And I'm not calling the people that did that extremist. You're sheep. Blindly following the blind. Nothing more than puppets. because you failed to see that you guys are being manipulated and used. Just like many on both sides. They think of civil war. It's not going to be a civil war. They want a civil war because they don't want a revolutionary war. Understand that. And we control that. If we keep allowing ourselves to be divided, then it will be a civil war. They'll keep doing what they're doing, laughing at us the whole way. Yep, we control them. They do what we want. We got them fighting each other instead of us. All that, and you want to talk about true hate speech? President Biden's last two speeches have been hate speech. That man hates America so much that he's turned on half the country because they don't follow his label, his politics. He basically stood up there and said, if you do not follow me, you are an extremist, you're a MAGA, you're a racist. You're a supremacist, you're a Nazi. His words, not mine. Go listen to his last two speeches. Those are the words he used to describe the Republicans and MAGA people. My bad, guys. I didn't just now realize my video wasn't on. But seriously, is this what we want? Do we want a president, a congressman, a congresswoman that's going to sit there and condemn another fellow American, call them racist, call them extremists? That is truly Hitler-esque. That is truly any play of any dictator. Every American citizen should be outraged and ashamed that we have a president who you use such tactics, such rhetoric. You know, we do have a big enemy, as in China, but our biggest enemy is right here in our homeland, and it's sitting in the White House. It's sitting in Congress. It's sitting in our states' representatives. Anyone that will adhere and support this type of rhetoric, this type of hate, is the true enemy of this country. They are the true Benedict Arnolds. Which I've always said, if I think one thing was they got wrong in history, that they should have done differently, it was Benedict Arnold. He should not have been exiled. He should have been publicly hung. Because that is one of the options of treason. To be publicly hung. That would have set the precedent for that type of action. The consequence of that type of action. No one fears being exiled. And he didn't suffer from his exile, as history went on to show. He prospered. The punishment did not fit the crime. But we're supposed to learn from our history and not repeat it. The other thing I don't want to see, some of you might, I don't want to see when this whole election cycle cycles back around, the same old shit happening again. I don't want to see all these stupid committees, hearings. Let's just get it done and done right. Let's get Let's get a tribunal, and let the tribunal bring in the evidence and bring the charges. Congress needs to do their job in getting this country back on track. It needs to work on getting the jobs back, getting our infrastructure fixed. Because there's nothing wrong with, bettering our electric grid. There's nothing wrong with cleaning up our coal emissions to safer levels, which they've done a great job over the years. Our carbon imprint is minute compared to what it was 100 years ago. We come to find out, even at the highest point of our carbon base, which was around the steam and coal area, and this is straight from scientific facts, core sample, tree ring samples, our imprint is still far less than nature's 800, 1,000 years ago. See, there's a difference. We also have this game of playing. Well, we'll pay you to make sure you can do this research. We'll give you all this money and grants to do this research, all these donations, but you got to say what we tell you to say. We have two different types of sciences out there. The ones that get paid to do the research by our government, our federal branches, our state branches, and the ones that can't get a grant to save their life, but yet are going out there by people like you and a bunch of other people that fund them and donate their money to them. We the people donate them. Their research is different. Their scientific facts are different. The results are different. We have two different scientific facts. But because we got all the money, our facts are right, those are wrong. Science was never supposed to be about politics. It was supposed to be about proving the existence of something or creating something new through disagreeing of theories and scientific practices. It was not meant for it to be used as a political weapon. These corporations have way too much control in our governments, and that needs to be abolished. But that takes an act of Congress. It takes an act of the House to bring up legislation, or it takes the act of we the people to go through the proper legal channels to get it to the Supreme Court, because the case needs reheard in the Supreme Court now with the evidence that the late Honorable great Judge Scalia had said would happen. Corporations would manipulate our elections. They would influence our elections. Our Supreme Court needs to go back and rehear that case and rule on that. Ban corporations from being able to spend any money on a campaign or election. Many of our corporations are foreign owned. They use the loophole that, we the people. Well, a corporation is made up of not a U.S. citizen, U.S. citizens, plural. So therefore, by the court's ruling, the law does not apply. The Constitution does not apply to a corporation on how much money they can spend on a campaign or an election or a politician. Because it is made up of many U.S. citizens. Now, we've given corporations, banks, pharmaceutical companies too much control of our government through money. That is one of our major problems with our corruption that we have in our government. Because it's not about we the people, it's about we the corporation. Or how can the corporation pad my pocket today? How can you help me win this election? Guys, wake up. This should not be about who's right or wrong, what party we vote for. A president's job and duty is to we the people. Not his party line, not his party, not his label, because when he takes on the mantle and swears those oaths to become president of the United States, his job and sole duty is to the American people. In the last two speeches, in less than a week, the president has failed to do his job, has failed to do his duty, has committed ethics violations, violated his very oath of office. And any Republican, any Democrat, or whatever label they choose while they're in our Congress, fails to bring up article impeachments today or tomorrow within this week should not be elected back into office come November and come the next election cycle. Get them out of office today. The 7 states that are allowed to recall their representatives, they should be recalling those representatives who failed to bring those impeachment articles to remove this president. Like I said, actions speak louder than words. Take that to your representatives and demand it. If they fail to do so, then they're not your representative. They're no better than the president sitting right there who should be removed. They're no better than Maxine Waters. They're no better than Nancy Pelosi. If they're going to sit idly by and let this type of action take place, they're not our representatives. They do not represent we the people. And truth, when they become a member of Congress, their duty is not to their states anymore, it is to we the people. They represent the voices of our people. Yes, people say, well, they represent the state, the people of that state's voice. Correct. But they also represent the whole of this country, the United States of America. That's who they're serving. They're not serving themselves. They're not serving pharma, big pharma, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, wherever they got their shares invested in. And that's the other thing that needs change. Every senator, whether it be at state level, municipal level, county level, should have to immediately disclose their financials, where their stocks and shares are. And while retaining that office, their shares and stocks should be frozen. Because it is a conflict of interest. It's also a conflict of interest where this is where I don't agree with what Trump did. Trump should not have been allowed to give up his assets to his kids because they're still part of it. One slip could have influenced his kids to make an investment. It only takes one slip or they overhear something. And this goes for everyone in Congress and the presidents and whatever station they hold while within our federal or state levels. They have an unfair advantage and they make their money. Not saying they did it, but let's take away the temptation. Let's take away the risk. Let's take away the temptation of corruption of having a company persuade you to vote on a measure a certain way. I don't get it, people. I really don't. How can I? No, I do kind of get it. We get tired of hearing this crap. We get tired of the fighting, the bickering. You know, like the series I'm doing with psychological and spiritual warfare. Many of the things that I've talked about are happening right in front of us right now. I haven't got into the imagery and symbolism yet, which will be I was trying to put it off, but it'll be the next one I do once I get my internet turned back on. Thankfully, my phone works. No, I'm just an everyday person that's trying to get by in this world. You know, thankful I don't have a family to support, kids to support, because I wouldn't make it. Obviously, I mean, I missed 6 days of work, had 3 days vacation to cover 3 of those days, so I had 2 short checks, but didn't even cover my rent. I was $175 short, couldn't pay the internet bill. And most of my bills are due this week. Thankfully, I'll have a full week check this week, but I'll be broke. I won't have enough money to put food in the refrigerator, which is about empty. I've went through my supplies already, all my backups. You know, I had just gotten everything caught back up, was starting to put some aside. Thankfully, I had some aside. I'd be farther in the hole this time around. But every time I go to the grocery store, prices keep going up. You know, yeah, gas prices have come down a little bit, but they went right back up for Labor Day, like it does every holiday, because people are going to be traveling, so let's make our money. There's too much greed in this world. And all greed does is lead to corruption. You know, I love how the president talks about our economy is great. Why is all these major airlines laying people off, canceling flights, terminating flights? They can't afford the cost in fuel. They can't afford the cost of upkeep on their planes. They can't afford to pay their employees. And people can't afford to travel. No, our economy is not good. It's the worst that I can ever remember it. I'm 44 years old. That's saying a lot. It's bad. I remember when I could go to a Burger King and McDonald's and get a meal and be full for under $5. Under $4. Imagine that. That's supersizing it back then. Getting the big drink, the big fries. It was no more than $3.95, $3.70, $3.50 even. Now that very same meal costs you $5, $6. Some places $7, depending on what you order. And you get less. That's the part that amazes me. We get less now and pay more for less. You know, honestly, if it ain't Subway or the occasional KFC, or when I go out to one of the sports bars, I don't eat out because it's cheaper to make your own, and I'll have extra leftovers for the next day. But even that's getting harder to do because it costs you about more now to go to the grocery store. And it does, actually. By the time you figure in the price of gas it's going to cost you to go there. Oh, but you can use Uber or DoorDash. Well, nope. And I only live 3 miles outside of town. They don't deliver out here. Because I'm outside of city. I'm more than 2 miles outside of city limits. And some places won't even deliver outside of city limits, period. So, yeah, it sounds good when you spend millions to make those advertisements for them. But like in everything, it sounds good in theory, but in practice, it's a big failure. Why? Because a lot of your drivers can't afford to drive. Because you don't pay them enough. They don't get enough in tips to cover their gas. So actually, they're taking a loss on a job where they should be making money. There's your Green Deal for you. Hard at work, right? We truly need change in this country. We need a radical change. We need a radical change in thinking. Because we need to completely redo our education system. It's gotten out of hand. We need real math being taught. We need real history being taught. Real science being taught. Real English being taught. People need to know how to read and write, especially write. Most of people now, well, most schools now you got to have a iPad or one of those things, notebook, Chromebook, whatever. A lot of our kids can't even write cursive in this day and age. And we live in a country where our electric grid and infrastructure is taxed. Can't support what we got right now. We have rolling blackouts happening every time the temperature gets above 90. Anytime a storm comes by, if you don't have these basic skills, these fundamental skills, these aren't archaic skills. They're necessity skills, needed skills. You need to know how to read and write. Just as much, you need to know how to do that more than you need to know how to use a computer or an iPad or a tablet. Tablet's the word I was looking for. We need skill trades, not college degrees in gender studies. And it amazed me. A few places I've worked, most of the people who work the maintenance department aren't ready to be fixed. Therefore, paying a bunch of money when one of their maintenance people should have a trade skill in fixing forklifts, fixing the hydraulics, fixing the electrical. But no, they rather send people off to college to get a degree in gender studies, which has no practical purpose in society. Well, yeah, we can use that to hire. No, you can't. Because if you're hiring people based on their gender, you're committing discrimination. But yet that's another area of division they use against us. No, that's actually, it's become top, you pick it. Racism or genderism. One is practically one and the same now when it comes to dividing people. One and the same when it comes to breaking families apart. Pitting communities against communities. Like I said, it's not community versus community. It's not a skin color or a religious belief or a gender. It is we the people. It is us Americans, brothers and sisters, not a label. Not a Republican, not a Democrat. I'm neither. I am an American citizen. And I would never would vote for a party that doesn't live by example, lives by their actions, because your words have no meaning. You lie too damn much. And you only throw a snippet of truth, which later becomes a lie because you completely don't honor your campaign promises. That's not hard to blame. Well, I couldn't pass it through. Congress is not. It's so. No, it's not. If you're a representative, it shouldn't be about a party line. I reiterate this. Once you take office in Congress, in the Senate, in the FBI, DOJ, CIA, whatever branch of government, put up to the president, it is no longer about a state. It's no longer about a political campaign or a party, a label. It is about we the people. It is about the American citizens and protecting them, bettering them, serving them, being their voice, being their arbiters of justice, protecting them from injustice, not creating new labels to define an illegal justice. They're domestic terrorists. If you go into a school board, straight from the DOJ. Our Department of Justice labeled parents domestic terrorists because they stood up to their school boards for what their kids were being taught. And they found out the truth. They're telling those parents, you have no right. You better fear us. We'll lock you away indefinitely. As we've seen happen with people from January 6th. Yes, there's some that were guilty. Far more that were innocent. But there is yet again two sides of the coin. It was okay what happened when they stormed the Capitol, or not when they stormed the White House, set fire to a church right there in D.C. Nobody talks about that. There was no investigations going on about that. But because it was so-called MAGA, so-called Republicans, on January 6th, now you see where January 6th is coming to bite us in the ass, right? Why it's so important for them to push this. Because now we got the president calling every Republican, every MAGA person. I told you guys MAGA was dangerous from the word MAGA was dangerous from the get-rip, but you guys didn't listen. Because you don't understand what MAGA is. The symbolism behind it. The magic behind it. The occult science behind it. Abbreviations are not a good thing. Not even a good idea. But you guys don't know that. You don't have that knowledge. For many of you, that's taboo. That's evil. Good mindset, except for you don't know your enemy. Therefore, you don't know what's being used against you. And you turn around and use it unaware of what you're doing. Don't worry, there's plenty of blame to go around on that one. But it's also almost impossible to talk about. Because when you do, oh, you know these things. You're evil. You're the bad guy. You're the enemy. Got to drop the judgment, Phyllis. But they're going to say, well, that's what you're doing right now. You're judging. You're being a hypocrite. No, I'm being a heathen, heretic, and pagan, is what I'm being. But most of you never took the time to research that and understand what the true origins of the words are. They actually mean common folk. It means what most of you that listen to us are. Common folk, free thinkers, people that question. The one thing they fear the most is people that question things, that speak of things that they question. It has been since heretic, heathen, and pagan was used, which was the very beginning of Catholicism. They're the ones that actually coined the term and started its usage and its meaning. I actually did an academic paper on it, study on it. I wrote a paper on it. But they've used those words throughout history to condemn, to burn at the stake, to behead, to persecute people of science, of literature, that were free thinkers and thought for themselves and questioned things. Now do you understand why it's so important for our governments to control the internet? To have control over information. To be able to use it as, actually, I'm going to state this, Facebook, Twitter, many of these social media platforms, many of these apps we have on our phone are more addictive than opioids. In many cases, the biggest causers of suicide and depression, because all the subliminal imagery through memes and toxicity that is on these platforms. And I've seen that Facebook and Twitter both ramp things up. They start targeting ads or targeting people's posts, saying this is misinformation. I don't care if it's misinformation or not. That's not for you to decide. That's for me to decide. That's for me to go research, which should be everybody's your own responsibility to do. You should research everything and question everything. I don't need your paid fact checkers to tell me something, because you know what? If you put that up there, I'm more inclined to believe that it's true, especially after recent events with Facebook. It's not recent events, it's been going on. You know, we see the corruption and the abuse of power within the internet, of these corporations that created. They weren't even corporations, but created and became corporate. They did a great thing, created a great thing, and sold it out. Gave control to foreign entities, gave control over to advertisers while fattening their pockets. They become greedy. And with that greed came the corruption. They're not caring of what their sites originally meant. I still, Facebook or YouTube, yes, censorship, problem, big problem. But still, to this day, there's not a site that has as much information on it as YouTube, to where you can go find how to do anything. You can watch professors give lectures and teach classes on stuff that college students are paying to go. But you can sit in the classrooms and watch and learn. You can learn how to build a website, learn how to code, learn how to do it-yourself projects. Rumble, not quite there yet. Long ways from there yet. And this is where I made my home. Yes, I stream from the mines using their tools because it's less, honestly, it's easier than setting up XSplit or OBS. I can just go over there speaking, which we're about to the hour mark, guys. Forgot to mention. At the hour mark, pretty sure it's YouTube doing it, but I'll get disconnected. Don't go nowhere. I'll pop my fucking stream key right back in. We'll be right back live. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back. Should be about 2 or 3 minutes from now. You see that little worry thing? Don't have to refresh or nothing. I'll go right back live. At least for another half hour. Not that anybody's really listening, right? Of course, then again, I learn all the time. Don't trust my current viewer count. And actually, don't trust anything analytic from YouTube or any platform. I'll get plenty of videos on that too. I've done exposed that. But, I'm not going to run. This is where I chose to take my stand. We'll continue to do it until they kick me off. They're going to have to permanently ban my IP address like Wikipedia did. Not once, but twice. I'm that stubborn old fool that just not going to let something go. But I managed to get my IP address here banned, so I get another new one in a new spot. I'll continue that little fight with them. But I do hope everybody's enjoying their Labor Day. I know it's supposed to be a Labor Day special, where I've been ranting and raving about something to me that's important. And it is important because it affects our work. It affects our homes, our families. And it has been. We can't keep sending money to a country that we're not allied with. That's not even allied with NATO. We can't keep allowing this government to just send us deeper and deeper in debt that we pay for. We pay for it worse because we're paying for it with the prices going up, the inflation, and we're the ones paying it back. Ukraine ain't paying this back. The sanctions on Russia's not paying this back. We pay it back. Our children pay it back. Their children's going to pay it back. And probably about 4 more generations will be paying this debt that they've created back if we still have a country left. That's what got me so mad. Because they're trying deliberately to destroy this country. The stuff that's happening over Europe right now, in France, the Netherlands. Yeah, just like that, we're back. But they're actually taking to the streets. The farmers are taking to the streets. The people are now taking to the streets. They've had enough. They've had enough of this idea of Green Deal. This idea of them shutting farmers out, telling farmers can't plant, can't bring their produce to the grocers. They're tired of them turning people's electric off. France is demanding that their country leave NATO. Well, NATO's not so much the problem, it's the UN. We need to leave all of them. They don't represent our countries. They're not our countries. They're a foreign entity. That is far beyond corrupt. That if they had their way, they would be running every country. We wouldn't have a president or a Congress. But we have a bunch of politicians and some presidents that have sworn allegiance to these groups. One thing Trump got right was getting out of these groups. We pay more, and we're the world police for them. They use our military as the first ones in. They don't use China's. They don't use Germany's. They don't use Britain's. It's ours. And that just puts a bullseye on us. That's why we got so many enemies around the world. That's why we're so hated. Because we let a foreign entity use our military and put us in places we have no business being. But we have plenty of politicians that have sold this country out a long time ago. They're still in office, have been in office for decades. Some have just blatantly sworn my allegiance is with Israel. No, your allegiance is supposed to be with America. America first, before any other. Israel's not our country. They might be an ally, but they're not our country. There's a difference between ally and our country. We can disagree with our ally and not get involved. We can sever our ties with them. And actually, given an allegiance is forbidden within our Constitution to any country if you're a representative of Congress or the president. So much to fix. We really do. We have so much to fix. You know, I think about a lot of friends I have over in Canada. The stuff that's been going on in Canada, I feel for them. But you got to take care of your own country. Each of our countries have to come first by our people. People of Canada need to take a stand and stand up. The reason they're getting this off so well is because look at the state of every country. Look at the state of division in every country. The people. They created this on a global scale to where it makes it hard for us to lend our aid and help to our fellow brothers and sisters in Canada. We're all human, so we're all brothers and sisters. When we got our own problems right here in our own country that need to be dealt with, needs attention. No, I do get accused of it a lot. Well, you don't talk about any other countries. Yeah, I get accused. I only talk about stuff that happens in Brazil. I have family there. Where my mom's from. I know more shit that's going on down there than probably anybody here. But yeah, I hear people talk about it that don't know what they're talking about. I've offered to put them in contact with people down there that are into politics, that are into the military. Oh no. Then don't talk about it. Let's focus on the issues that we have. I'm an American first and foremost. Yes, I may have dual citizenship, which I actually forfeited. I could go back and visit my family down there if I wanted to. Oh yeah, I'm a domestic terrorist. You know, it used to be, you do the crime, you do the time. Did the full sentence, that was it. Oh no, not after 9/11. And that's the scary part. Even those that get put in county jail for domestic violence, DUI, can be labeled as a domestic terrorist. To this day. But then again, you could be a parent standing up to the school board and being labeled as a domestic terrorist. Or you could just be supporting the wrong political party and be labeled an extremist, which is no different than a domestic terrorist, actually. It's just another label to mean the same damn thing. Because that's what we call the extremists over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Terrorists. They're extremists, so therefore they are terrorists. The word means the same thing. But I guess that shows the decline of our education system and our English classes. Not putting the emphasis in the study of words, origins. What words really mean. And how, what I think should be taught as well, part of English, how they are used to manipulate people. Some words do have more than one meaning. Many words have more than one meaning. But now you can pretty much create anything you want and say it means this, and well, because this group said it means this, if you oppose it, deny it, say it don't, well, you're the enemy. That's the times we live in now. Or if we take a stand on anything, we become the enemy. Well, let me make this good and clear. That's some very dangerous rhetoric. Because you don't want to make an enemy out of a lot of us American people. History has shown that one to be very, very true. Which is why I go back to state what I stated earlier. That's why they want civil war. Because if we're too focused on a civil war, we're not focused on what needs to be done, the root of the cancer, the evil of it all. And that can only be settled by a revolutionary war. Their idea of creating a civil war is to be able to just sweep in, lock everything down, which they've already experimented with, got away with, and just start hauling people off. You think them creating those tent cities, so-called hospitals, were for that, many of which never got used? No, no. It was a show. It was just so you could see it, so you would fear it. But also, so when things started to be erected again, you wouldn't question it. Oh, we got monkeypox going around. That's why they're setting these back up. And if anybody questions it, they're wrong. Look at now the CDC, how much they've turned tail, changed everything that they've said before. Look at the research that just came out from Pfizer and I can't remember the other one about their vaccines. How it made people more susceptible to things, which we were talking about back during COVID. It was one of our major concerns and fears of this. Experimental drugs being tried, not even going through lengthy testing. In many cases, we had the director of WHO, World Health Organization, flat out said we just passed it through because we knew it was killing all these animals. But we passed it through anyway because we needed it. Biden takes a lot of credit for a lot of things. Unfortunately, all the credit he's taking is based on lies. He hasn't fixed shit. He's made things worse. Far worse than what it was. Far worse than any other president. And you know what the worst part of it is? He's become far worse than Nixon. He just, his approval rating just dipped lower than Nixon. You can't get no worse than Nixon. Apparently you can. You know, we've had some good presidents. We've had some bad presidents. We've had some questionable presidents. We've had some surprising presidents. But we've never had a true traitorous, treasonous destroyer that we have now in Biden, who's destroying everything this country stands for, who's destroying our economy, he's destroying our Constitution, our rights, and our freedoms, who's went to the ultimate level that we only see dictators do. And some of the truest, evilest leaders in the history of the world do. Condemning his own people and calling them extremists. That's unforgivable. That is not becoming a president. That's not even becoming a senator or a politician. That is what Hitler did. That's what Stalin did. That's what Genghis Khan did. Fuck, truthfully, he's surpassed Saddam Hussein and his evilness. Well, kinda, but we haven't got to the end of the year yet when food shortage is going to start really taking effect. When we see how much produce and stuff that doesn't get harvested this year. So, it's that's the other deceiving thing. They talked about it, they numbed you to it, and prices went up, but not like it's going to. Because they made it sound like it was going to be now. No. And that's where, city folk and country folk see things differently. Country folk understand the farmer's pain, the farmer's struggle. We see it every day in our commutes to and from work or to and from town. We see fields that are normally planted that aren't planted yet, won't be planted this year. We see fields that are always corn that is something else. I've never seen you plant soybean my whole lifetime. I've never seen you plant hay or wheat. It's always corn. Or, man, you didn't even get your soybeans out this year. Man, kind of cut it. Your field was flooded almost till July. Many farmers couldn't get the fertilizer they needed, but many already had it before the Ukraine crap started. But next year's a different story. Buy that stuff winter and spring for the coming planting season, usually before spring. No, we have not seen the full effect of this. We just experienced the pre-stage of it. Like I said, I'd love to see change this coming election cycle, but I don't want to see change that's going to focus on just running committee after committee, because we're going to need instant change, instant legislation taking place to get farmers back on their feet, get farmers what they need. We're going to need for them to dump money to get legislation going, to get infrastructure going, getting jobs back going, and finding a way to lower the inflation. We need growth. We don't need repeating of what the last party just did, which means doing nothing and sitting there twiddling your thumbs. Like I said, if you want that, then order a tribunal separate from the DOJ, because many cases, what we're talking about is what a tribunal would be needed for, because we're talking sedition and treason. We're talking about potential of corruption, of an influence, and blackmail of the president. We're also talking treason with the president and sedition. Many members of the Congress, the same thing applies. So, when you want to throw around the words extremist to the calling fellow Americans extremists who aren't extremists, understand the consequences of those actions. And anybody that supports you and backs you in this, understand the consequences of those actions. Understand what we, the people, are going to want. And if you can't honor what we, the people, want, pull yourself out of those elections now. Or face the same fate as the rest of them. But they don't fear that because they've sowed so much division and discord that they know we're not unified. We're not united. We're still divided between Democrat and Republican. And they're trying to further they're trying to subdivide, by use of labels, the Republican Party into MAGA, alt-right, right-winged extremist. It's not the first time we've heard that word either. Go do your research on Ruby Hill. Or Ruby Ridge. Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we thought it was the 30th anniversary of Ruby Ridge. I actually kind of researched it, watched some documentary, because I really don't know the story. It was when I was young, so my memory of things were Waco. The Oklahoma City bombing. Those events. The World Trade Center bombing. Ruby Ridge, I don't know. That just wasn't when I was paying attention. I was too young to understand it, or I don't know. I don't know how I missed it, honestly. It was interesting, even that subject. We didn't have computers, so we didn't have the fast flow and speed of information, but we had one of probably the world's greatest talk show hosts on radio talk show host. At least, my lifetime, he was already up there in age. Paul Harvey, I never knew that he personally, on his radio station, reached out to the guy, the father, at Ruby Ridge. That's how powerful his voice was. He was well liked by all sides. And now for the rest of the story, right? Well, I don't know. Shows my age. I'm not that old because, like I said, I was at the end, towards the end of it. But yeah, now for the rest of the story. He was the voice that everybody that got into talk shows or even podcasts today, we have Paul Harvey to thank. Before there was Alex Jones, before there was Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, there was Paul Harvey. But along came the internet. Along came the advancements in technology. Now information is so flowing, we have so many different podcasters. We have so many different streamers. So many different niches and genres to get our information from. And let this be a warning to everyone. Don't get caught in a single echo chamber. Listen to everyone. Listen to people you don't agree with. That's how you start freeing your mind and freeing yourself from all the time. To question everything, hear both sides of the story. We have to listen to both sides of the story. We have to listen to other people's opinions and views from the opposite side. Because it allows us to question things on our side. It allows us to question things on their side. And it gives us two different perspectives of things. And we might find something completely different, create our own perspective that sets us apart from either side. When we start staying in these echo chambers, listening to the same people, the same rhetoric over and over, we're not giving you information. We're not making you question things. In a lot of cases, I've tuned out from a lot of people. I don't listen to a bunch of people I used to anymore. Yeah, I have my little favorites, but I still, because they become echo chambers. I just keep hearing the same shit that everybody else is talking about. Can't have that. And I get it. Tim Pool's invited plenty of people with opposite opinions and opposite views to him on. They don't want to go on. I think the only person that got it right that I've watched was Lauren Southern. And she said she'd never do it again. She did a panel with a mix of everybody from all walks of life and all different sides. It was probably one of the most interesting live stream podcasts that I watched. Yeah, there was arguing, there was bickering. The chat was off the hook. But it was interesting to hear all these different views and opinions from the alt-right to the alt-left or far left. It was interesting. It was educational. I learned a lot. Where others just kept arguing back and forth. Oh, I can't believe you had this person on. You're a fascist for having this person on. No, that's their job. If I invite people on, I got to be willing to invite people that have different views and opinions of me than me. And sit there and let them have their voice. Hear them out. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what I think. It's what you think, what you gain from it, what you learn from it. That's what matters. And no, I'm not going to let you bash them in my chat rooms. I want you to respect them. Respect their views and opinions as I respect yours. Because that's what freedom of speech is about. That's what freedom of expression is about. To have your own opinions and views. We should be unique. We should be different from everybody else. We're our own person. There ain't no two alike. And I tell you what, when we can start finding ways to do that, we start stripping the control and the manipulation and division that they keep selling. It becomes much more harder to do it. When we just lay it all down, you know what? He has the right to say these things. I don't care what his religious beliefs is. I don't care what his political beliefs is. I don't care what his sexuality is. It's none of my damn business. But I want to hear what the person's got to say. Why do you believe this? Why do you think this? What do you think needs change? Why? I tell you what, at some point, at some point, we got to find a way to mend fences, to end this division. That's what's destroying us. That's what they're using against us. And if they have their way, it'll be a civil war, not a revolutionary war. And we shouldn't have to be talking about either or. But they're going to, they keep pushing. That's what's going to come. And they're pushing it. They've already pushed it beyond the point of where it should have went. I know Mike Cernovich tweeted after President's speeches last week that Biden definitely officially crossed the Rubicon. Yes, I think he did. He crossed that line that should not have been crossed. Ever. By anyone. He crossed it. Again, today. Stood by that and crossed it more. Because the terminology being used is not a peaceful, peacetime, or civilized terminology. It's terminology of war. It's military terminology and psychological warfare. So yes, we are on the cusp of civil war, of revolutionary war. It will be the people that decide which will be. Will it be the sheep that fall for the bait and the trap of civil? Or will it be we the people, the American, our brothers and sisters that stand for liberty, freedom, justice, stand for our Constitution and make it a revolutionary war, which is not what they want? Never thought the day would come we'd be having this talk. Some say we probably shouldn't be having this talk. But hey, I'll be your fucking huckleberry. I'm tired of it. Somebody's got to open their goddamn mouth. Somebody's got to have a backbone. Really, you do. Because this is a talk we need to be having. If they're going to start labeling people like this, our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow Americans, as this, then they've crossed that line that should never be crossed. They have now crossed into sedition and treason. They turned on the American people. They have completely violated every oath they've taken. And now it's time to hold our representative accountable who do not bring up impeachment charges within the week, which should have been last week, and remove them from office. Don't care who you are. If you're a representative of the Senate and the House and you do not bring up impeachment charges, then you are not the representatives of we the people. You are now the enemy. And you can't get no blunter than that. I bet you, I'm willing to bet now Bree's glad she's fucking traveling today because she would not want to be part of this podcast. Actually, I know several was probably glad, like, hey, well, nope, we're not even going to be in your chat room. We don't want to be a part of this podcast. And there's some that I know that might be listening. Well, I'm glad they're not part of this podcast. You know, we're all sons and daughters of liberty. And it's time we start acting like it. We're all Americans. We're all brothers and sisters. Let's act like it. Let us remember our history. Let us remember the true meaning of patriotism, the true meaning of liberty, justice. That justice is meant for all, not a political party that's ruling at the time, because that's what they're acting like, rulers. They're acting like a dictator, monarchy, tyrant, king, queen. I mean, damn. Biden's looking like making Henry VIII look like a saint. No, when we took our sovereignty and our freedom from Britain, the monarchy was dead. The king was dead to us. The idea of a democracy, of a republic, the what, the idea of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the right and freedom to have whatever religious belief you wanted. You know, it was really black and white, common sense what they wrote. They even went to the farthest. This should not be. It's not to be amended or infringed upon after this. And we allowed changes to make happen. That was probably the first mistake ever made. I mean, granted, there were some changes that needed to be made. I agreed with that. You know, we've had some great movements. We've had some great civil rights movements. We had a great feminist movement in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. But all those movements, by the new groups that have come in their place, have twisted and changed what those movements meant. They no longer mean what they meant back then. It's fueled by politics. It's fueled by politicians using it to create division under a guise of a great cause that already happened. You know, we should never be talking about racism in this day and age. We shouldn't. It's our politicians that keep slamming it down our throats. And yes, there is racism still today, sadly and unfortunately. But we've always had the means to change that. And the bottom line is, a racist person is always going to be a racist person. You will never change that. Only they can change that. And racism, to be brutally honest and factual about it, is on all sides. Every color, ethnicity has a form of racism behind it. There's blacks that hate whites. There's blacks that hate Mexicans. There's Mexicans that really hate blacks. There's Mexicans that hate whites. There's Asians that hate all of them. Every race has their racist. Let's not point out just one. Let's keep it real. Yes, we still have racism, but it's just not one group. It's every group that has it. It goes back to what I said about the fact, you know, you got a bunch of bad apples. Well, don't let your bad apples ruin the bushel. Remove them. Don't give them credence. Don't give them control of your communities. Don't invite them in. You don't have to associate with them. There's several I don't. On all sides, because of that. In the end, it's who we choose to let in. Then we get judged, guilt by association, because we associate with certain people. You know, I don't care. You know, that's the problem. We care too much what other people think. You know, and I'm not going to sit here and say that certain Trump rallies didn't have racists there. Because racists are on both sides of the fence. They show up on both sides. It's just the propagandized, weaponized media that draws attention to the party that they don't support. They don't show what's going on with their party. And if they're there, they make sure their cameras never catch it. But it's there. It's on both sides. Keep it real. But that's the problem. We don't control the information. People only see what they're used to watching. People that grew up on CNN, MSNBC, and the stations affiliated with them, affiliated with the Democratic Party, that's what they watch. They've been taught, programmed that the other ones is wrong. The other ones are evil. They're fake news. So they don't watch it. So they only get one side of the information. They only get one side of the story. So they don't question. They don't question the fact that Obama put an executive order to mandate and legalize and make media weaponized as propaganda machines to spread propaganda. And they play both sides of the fence. So I'm not a fan of Fox News. I'm not a fan of any of the major entertainment news that's on cable. Because they're always, since I've been living, one-sided when it comes to politics. Whatever party that their corporation supports is the only news that gets taught and told. The only information is one-sided. There's so much information out there. You just got to research. You got to do, and that's it. We don't have the time to do it anymore. We're too busy struggling to get by, trying to get extra hours or an extra job, another job to make ends meet. That's designed. Because if you're doing all that, you don't have time to research these things. You don't have time to question these things. So you're still continuously caught in that loop of propaganda, psychological warfare. Now, this is probably the first Labor Day where I wish I was working. Because there's an hour of overtime I'm going to lose this week. That's how bad things have gotten. When that 1 hour of overtime that I rely on every week, I rely on 4 hours of overtime every week. I go in an hour early to get by. Barely get by each week. But I've also worked at plenty of places where we never had Labor Day off. Fuck, I've worked at places where you don't get Thanksgiving or Christmas. They make it mandatory. Where people should be at home with their families and loved ones and friends. They're forced to work. I honestly remember growing up in the 80s, 90s, you were lucky to find any place that was open besides maybe a gas station. This day and age, most places are open, expecting people to come into work. Yeah, most of your factories aren't. So, things have changed since I was a teenager, since I was a kid. Life hasn't gotten easier, it's gotten harder. We did the complete reverse and opposite of what we should have done. Things should have gotten easier. The way of life should have gotten easier. In fact, it's been the opposite. That's how bad our government has gotten. How corrupt. How destructive to the American people it's become. But the sad part of it is, our young kids, this is going to be their norm. They think this is the norm. Oh, that's that old wise talk. That never happened. You guys didn't have it like that. You know why I say that? Because that was me saying that about my dad, my grandparents. Oh, it's just an old wise tale. Huh. Now, what I'm saying, our kids and grandkids will be saying the same thing about that about us. Oh, that's an old wise tale. It's never been like that. So yes, there's been a shift. There's always a change every 8-10 years. That's why our kids are they are our future. They are the future generations. They're our future politicians. We need to understand that as adults, as parents, that this is not the norm. This is not the way it should be. We need to take back control of how our children are being educated. We need to take control. It's in the state, the teacher. You're not their parent. I am. Change has to happen. And it has to happen soon. I agree. We've crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back. Without serious action, serious change. Yes, change starts at home, then within the community. But change, now more than ever, needs to happen. And swiftly. For those that actually listened, I hope you guys enjoyed. Probably not going to be able to do another podcast till next week. Because I had just enough to cover this week's bills and a couple of last week's bills and the rest of my rent. So I'm not going to have enough to get the internet turned back on. So this weekend, probably more likely I'll try to miraculously find a way to have some extra money, which I don't see happening. But a good week's break will do me good, do you guys good. And I can still go live if I have to from my phone. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. You guys have a safe week. Enjoy it. You know, yes, we are living in some gloom, dreary times, but still, try to find the good in things. Don't let them get you down. Don't let them depress you. There's still plenty of good things out there. Plenty of good people out there. I know we're struggling. You know. But hey, we're also brothers and sisters. We're all family. We're all sons and daughters of liberty. We are we the people. Help out. If you're capable of helping out, help those out that are in need. You know, now is the time for charity as much as anything else. Many can afford. There's still people out there that can afford to be charitable. I mean, even if it's just helping somebody mow their lawn, or just opening the door, smiling at a person, those things mean so much, and they're needed in times like this. But I wish you guys all a good week. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. Or week, well, Labor Day. And you all be safe out there. Till the next one.